The Future of SETI by Will Reedy. In this presentation, we will be looking at SETI's future, their hunt for extraterrestrial life, and factors that play into our present outlook on life beyond our own world.
My name is Frank Drake. I am a scientist here at the SETI Institute in Mountain View, California. I have been working in the subject of SETI for more than 50 years. What precipitated that first search was first curiosity about the existence of extraterrestrials. We know that the discovery of those creatures would be perhaps the most important scientific and eventually practical discovery we could ever make.
I think that detecting evidence of an extraterrestrial technology, someone else out there, would change everything. It helps us to calibrate who we are, where we fit in this really large cosmos. But I think it's important, even if we don't detect a signal, it's important to get the world involved in doing the search.
Looking at what we know about SETI's search, yearly the expense is roughly around a couple million, hovering around 2 million to 2.5 million. This is invested in different things such as scanning 72 million channels of radio simultaneously, with the hopes that one day we will make contact with something outside the human species, proving that we're not alone in the universe. SETI is also currently looking for new ways in which they can receive or send out contact, and one interesting technique was looking for lasers in space. Being that alien technology is unknown and we don't know the extent of what technology they possess, SETI is always trying to stay on top of new information and new ways in which they can search for contact or send out contact. When considering the future of SETI, we must look at all current and possible outlooks on extraterrestrial life and the possibilities in which we may find them. In the book The Eerie Silence, Davies does a good job of giving an example of an alien civilization that in this situation they couldn't exactly reach us by means of travel by spaceship or any other means of travel. However, they were situated about 1,000 light years away. And in this example, he explains to us that the alien civilization would not be able to view our existence as it is today, being that they're so far, and in light years they would be looking into the past, hypothetically. So what they would see, or what they wouldn't see, is our telescopes, particle accelerators, roads, rockets, anything that is current and modern day science on the Earth. What they would see is the year 1020 AD, so 1,000 years into the past. And this just really puts into perspective a potential breakdown or miscommunication in terms of how they perceive us or their understanding of us, or where, even if they know where we're at in terms of science, because they just don't have an accurate reading. And given that even if they had this technology, I'm assuming they would understand the means of light years, but being that they don't exactly know our current state, they can't give a really accurate explanation of where we are at with our current technology. So this kind of leads us to the question of, are we using the correct means of technology? And that's where I get at with anything that goes from point A to point B can be used to encode signal. So when Davies was touching on this, he was looking at, are we using the right way of looking? Are we even viewing or imagining their technology as something feasible? Can we even fathom what they could potentially be trying to communicate with? So that just begs the question, is it even possible for us to communicate if they are out there? Or on the flip side of that, do they even have technology that would be able to reach us? Or anything that could be encoded to send to us. And then also, are we looking in the wrong places in terms of using radio signals, lasers? What's the right method? Another thing Davies brings up with SETI's future is the Fermi paradox. And this seemed to be a concern for him uh, in terms of the probability of ever finding life just due to the sheer numbers of planets and galaxies that we have already uncovered. So, this is the apparent contradiction between the lack of evidence for extraterrestrial civilizations and the various high estimates for their probability. So the Fermi paradox either leaves us with the two different ideas that either intelligent life could be very common across the universe due to the sheer probability of life outside of our own, due to the high numbers of planets and galaxies that we've found, and then also how we've identified habitable zones across different other galaxies, planets, solar systems, things such as that. And then on the other hand, we could be um, the winners of the cosmic jackpot, making our intelligent life very rare and solidifying our unique existence that we perceive ourselves in the universe today. Davies then brings up potential theories um, on why aliens wouldn't be interfering with us or contacting us, even if they could. And I thought a good one was the zoo hypothesis. And the zoo hypothesis would make a strong argument that if extraterrestrials were to be avoiding contact, they may be watching us, observing our social progression, along with potential unnoticed interference that could be pushing us further as an intelligent society and grooming us for an eventual contact. And so this would be hoping, in their hopes to enlighten us or push us towards some sort of ideal enlightenment in which they could eventually contact us. Um, Maybe that is so that we don't have fear of them or uh, eventually gain the technology in which they could effectively work with us, things such as that nature. And then another interesting theory Davies brings up is the time tourists. And this suggests that there isn't aliens out there at all, being that if there were aliens, and if there was time travel, we would have encountered somebody coming back and warning us about the potential threats or potential opportunities, good or bad, with other intelligent life forms. So the last theory Davies brings up about why we haven't been contacted by extraterrestrial life revolves around genetically modified beings. And in this theory, aliens could be mostly interested in prolonging their life expectancy through the means of genetic modification or artificial intelligence. And this would suggest that even if they could and had the technology to reach us or make a connection, they're just not interested because it wouldn't help them accomplish the goal of achieving that immortality or longer uh, life expectancy. So Davies then begins to look at alien technology and how this may play its role in SETI's future and how we're operating. So this is again a quote from the Eerie Silence, and Davies says, "It might well appear miraculous to us, all of which presents new SETI with a serious problem. How can we look for signatures of alien technology when we have no idea how it would be manifested?" And so this suggests the idea of how can we deal with technology that we don't understand or comprehend, or how would we deal with something that we can't even visualize or understand how it works. And he gives the example of giving a tribe that hasn't encountered modern science society today and showing them all of our inventions and uh, up-to-date science, how mind-blowing and mind-boggling that would be to them. So how does that relate to SETI's future? So from how I interpreted that, it would mean, what do we do with the information then? So if aliens technology was that superior and was to the point where we couldn't even manifest it or understand it, how do we move forward? Do we just cease operations and look to invest that money in research and development, looking for new ways to communicate, looking for new ways to receive messages, give messages, new ways to even um, transport out to space? How do we get in contact with them if the technology is so superior that we're not able to get in contact with them with our current technology? Considering first contact with extraterrestrials, we know the world would go into somewhat of a chaotic state, being that most of the world isn't prepared for contact with extraterrestrials. This would reshape society as we know it, impacting ideas such as religion, science, and human beliefs, also potentially the way governments operate, just because of the new information of intelligent life, potential new technology encountered, and potential uh, life altering questions being answered for the human race. So, looking at the messages we're sending out, every day we're actively transmitting messages and hope to come across contact with an alien civilization. So, Davies points out that we are sending out basically our universal footprint projected out at the speed of light with very little filter. And what he suggests, some of this could be fairly dangerous if perceived out of context or seen as a message directly to them. So he just warns of the danger of what we are sending out into the universe at the speed of light, kind of without control or any filter. So, taking a look back at the original question, how should SETI change in the future? The back half of Eerie Silence, Davies really looks at potential theories on why we haven't made contact or who we might make contact with, their technologies and their capabilities, things such as this surrounding either why we haven't made contact or B, if there even is aliens at all. And so by default, that we haven't made contact, knowing that there is potential possibility, he as a scientist can't fully say he believes that aliens exist just based off the evidence and we have no contact. However, he does believe in the potential, being that there is a large amount of habitable zones out there that we can still look into, and places that we haven't even been able to uh, probe into or research or have the ability to see if there is life in certain areas of the universe, just being that our technology can't get us there or help us observe that certain space in the universe. So, being that we have no evidence that aliens do exist currently, my takeaway was that SETI should reallocate their resources in other ways. I believe that SETI should use a more research and development style of uh, advancing their program rather than sending meaningless radio waves or searching meaningless radio waves. They should be searching for new ways in which they can make contact or new ways in which we can eventually observe those far distance areas or further distance areas than we're able to observe currently. And I feel this would just give more of a research and development style approach rather than us moving in the direction of aimlessly hoping to make contact with beings that we may that we don't know exactly exist. They may or may not exist, and hoping that one day we can come in contact with them rather than moving in a direction of hopefully probing and trying to target eventual habitable zones that we are guessing, making educated guesses that life could potentially be there, and then also trying to find more technology or new technology to get those messages there.